Well, welcome everyone. If anybody's having any technical difficulties, please just email us at exploring@lflmail.org. That's exploring@lflmail.org. Thank you so much for being here on the live hour. I'm going to start out and introduce our National Service Team Chair, Craig Martin. Craig?
Craig, we're having some difficulties on your end. So on the live hour, so if you could hold off just a second, we're having some difficulties hearing you. So
I'm trying to unmute Craig one more time. They're calling to see if we can get him in. Yeah, Craig, we're having, I don't know what's going on, but we're having some technical difficulties. So we're going to move on here. For some reason, we can't hear you on that side. I'm not sure if it's the speaker or what's going on. Well, welcome to the National Exploring Live Hour. Craig Martin, as you saw, we're having a little technical difficulties there. Craig is our National Service Team Chair, and we're so excited to have Craig on board. Craig's main job is to make sure that all of the service teams and commissioner staffs have the necessary training and the ability to service our clubs and posts across the country. As you guys all know, one of the things we're really ramping up is trying to service our clubs and posts. We just hear a lot that maybe they're not getting the amount of attention they would like from us or from the local council. So Craig, thank you for what you do in that position, making sure that our clubs and posts get the best possible service, just like our Cub Scout packs and troops as well. So what we're going to do today is, first of all, start out and tell you thank you for being on the Exploring Live Hour. We're so excited about starting this. Please bear with us today. I promise as we move along, we'll get a lot better at the technology, figuring out what's causing the sound problems and things like that. But the purpose of this National Exploring Live Hour is basically just to make sure that we service you guys, that we're giving every one of you what you need, and making sure that if you need communication from the National Service Center, knowing what's on our websites, understanding what's going on around the country, we're going to be highlighting people from all across the country as the months go on. And this is just to open up communication and make sure that everybody understands that there's some awesome things going on and exploring out there, and we want to highlight those. So in this first live hour, we're going to kind of take this today because as we get used to getting our volunteers, linked in from all across the country, getting our professionals linked in from across the country, we kind of wanted to give this a practice run today. So we're going to kind of run this from our side today. As we move forward, like I said, many of you will be on here with us and communicating to your fellow professionals and volunteers across the country. So we're going to go ahead and kick off our first topic. Many of you may not know, but we actually have national, regional, and area volunteers that help us. The first group I want to start with, of course, is our national professional staff. As you see, we're a pretty small team. Many of you know us, but I just want to make sure that you know who we are. Our national president, Diane Thornton. Of course, me, Tim Anderson. I'm your senior team leader of Exploring. And many of you may call into the National Service Center here and talk to Susan Fitzhugh. And, of course, Anissa Hicks, our project coordinator. Anybody that's called in for the law enforcement conference has probably talked to Anissa. And then, of course, our awesome Exploring directors, Colin Lemon. Colin serves the Western region. Fred Lee covers the Southern region. Chad Schrader covers the Northeast region. And then, of course, Carlos Coronado covers the Central region. That's our professional staff. We're here to service you and make sure that you get what you need in the field. And by the way, the whole purpose of this live hour is we get feedback. You'll have all of these directors on here each time so that we can hear directly from you on what you're needing or what you may need in the future. So on the next slide, what you're going to notice is our National Learning for Life Executive Board. Now, most of you know that we're a 501c3, and we're technically an affiliate of the Boy Scouts of America. Many of you may not know that we have our very own executive board, and our executive board is led by our chairman, Fred Markham. And if you notice, I'm not going to read the slide to you, of course, but we have everything from governance, marketing, secretary, but I want you to pay attention to two main positions. Of course, Craig's position is the newest position we added, the National Service Team Chair. But if you take a look at the National Vice Chair of Career Field Development, Bray Barnes, and also our National Exploring Chair, Larry Lewis. So let's go down the slide there and take a look at our National Vice Chairman of Career Field Development. That is Bray Barnes. Basically what Bray does is recruit a committee for each of the 12 career fields. So as you know, everything from aviation to social services, we lump every career in the nation into one of the 12 career fields. Now, everybody says, well, why don't we have this career field or that career field? As you know, we can start an Explore post in any career. That includes government organizations, military. However, in order for us to market properly, we narrow those careers down into 12 career fields, and we make brochures for those. So if you take, for example, law enforcement, which many of you know, Kathleen O'Toole is our chairman for our law enforcement committee, and she's a retired police chief out of Seattle. So we have very high-level people on these committees that are helping develop program, make sure that we develop national partnerships, and have the support that we need for the 12 career fields. So as we're going forward and you're meeting volunteers and high-level people out in the field, please give us their information, because you never know, we may just want to recruit them on one of our 12 national committees. And finally, within our National Exploring team, we have what we call our National Exploring Chair, Dr. Larry Lewis. Now, under Dr. Larry Lewis, we have everything from youth protection, health and safety, and then most importantly, we have our Central Region Exploring Chair, of course, is a volunteer. That's Joe Jacobs. Joe is our Central Region Exploring Chair with Carlos Coronado as the advisor. The Northeast Region, Dick Davies. Dick is our Northeast Region Chair with Staff Advisor Chad Schrader. Our Southern Region Exploring Chair volunteers, Devane. Devane is, he has Fred Lee as his contact. And then, of course, in the Western region, we have Dan Walters with Colin as his lead there. If you notice underneath each of the regions, look under your region, and you're going to see, for example, in the Central region, you'll notice each area, they're working on recruiting exploring chairs for each of the area. And you might say, well, what does this matter to me, and what is this pertinent to me in the field? Well, what we're hoping to do is provide a template for you guys so that you recruit exploring chairs in your councils and your districts. And ultimately, through this organizational chart, we're going to give you support. So, for example, if your council's in Area 1 in the Central region, Mark would be your contact to help your council chairs and your district chairs get the relevant information, not only from national, but give feedback back from the field to us. So we're building that. We're hoping that you're building a national or a chair within your local council as well. So we're not going to start out every single meeting with all this information, but we thought it was pertinent to show this. We will start out by at least showing these slides at every meeting to show you the updates of who we recruited. So now we're going to move on to our next topic. And Colin, why don't I turn it over to you? And let's cover a couple of the topics this month that we picked for the National Exploring Live Hour.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Hello, Colin.
I'm going to cover just a couple things for you. Happy to talk to you guys. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the most important part of our 4 phases of starting a poster club, and that is our research phase. So the bulk of that is finding out what kind of poster clubs do we need to start so that we can be efficient with our time. And we do that, excuse me, a couple different ways. The first way is using our career interest surveys. We have a paper Scantron survey, and that can be used by middle school or high school ages if you're surveying them. You have to use that one if you're doing middle school ages. You can't use the online career interest survey because they're legally not allowed to if they're under 13. So the paper Scantron surveys are available to you. If you go online to www.exploring.org, scroll to the bottom, in the resources box, you'll see the Career Interest Survey Guidebook, and the most current version of our paper Scantron survey is there, so you can see and make sure that you're using the correct one. And I really want to emphasize that because a lot of councils have done surveys in the past and they have boxes in their closets full of paper Scantrons. And we want to make sure you use the accurate ones. Because if you don't use the updated one, then we really can't do anything with the information. The readers will pick it up. So make sure you've got the most accurate ones. There is a charge to get the surveys, and the charge depends on how many you get, and the costs are in that guidebook. So just check that out. There's a lot of information in there about both the paper and the online one. For the online one, you can use this anytime. Anybody can use it without any kind of setup. Any user. It's www.exploringyourcareer.com. And in 1 second, I'm going to show you what that looks like.
So just out of curiosity, while Colin's looking that up and pulling that on your screen, if you've used the online survey before, would you chat with us and tell us that you've used it? If you've had any problems with it, would you let us know that as well? One thing that we always like to say is before you utilize the survey, make sure you look at the Career Interest Survey Guidebook and make sure that you test that specific school that you're trying out. So if you have used the online survey before, please send us a message and let us know that. If you've used the paper surveys before, the Scantron surveys that come from the National Distribution Center, let us know that as well. And we'd love to have feedback from you on anything that may work or may not work.
All right, so you should be able to see on your screen, this is exploringyourcareer.com, and I'm just going to fill one out so you can see that it is pretty quick and easy. Again, want to emphasize this is only for kids that are 13 or older, and they can do it anytime they like. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, Exploring Way in Irving. And we are going to give our age here so you guys can see just, well, as you can see, it's limited by age. Let's see, we are male. We will just other. There. All right, so now I'm going to go down. I'm a 9th grader. I want to go to college.
And for those of you that aren't on video, what Colin's doing right now is he's actually completing an online survey to show you, number one, how fast it is to complete, and number two, how to do it. So if you don't have video, just go to exploringyourcareer.com and you can fill this out as we're going through it.
All right, so I've entered all my information. Now I just have to pick my careers. So we are going to pick that I want to be a mechanical engineer first. That is my favorite. Really want to learn about that, and then we're going to pick that I want to be a computer programmer second, and then we're going to select a few hobbies. This is something that a lot of school surveys don't have, but this gives us more information about what the kids would like to learn about. So let's do cave exploring, why not? And that's all the information we need. So you go through that process, you will see that it is a whole lot easier than doing a paper survey where you've got to explain to everybody to make sure they bubble in the things instead of circling them. Of course, there's some cost for that. The online career interest survey is absolutely free to the councils and free to the schools. And when you're talking about surveys, that's one thing you really want to highlight. A lot of schools pay a lot of money to do online surveys, and ours is totally free and has the same function. In fact, it's got more careers than a lot of the school surveys have. It's very quick. And then once you've gotten yourself set up as the council administrator, that was our office, then you can pretty much instantly go and log in and get all of the results and share them with that school.
Hey, Colin, we're getting a lot of chat here, and as you guys know, I think I mentioned this earlier, and this is important to Craig as well. We want to make sure we get even though we got presentations to give, our whole point of this is to get feedback from you guys. So we're going to stop periodically, and I'm going to read some chat here. And I know if you have this question or comment, others may as well. So here's one of the comments that we had. Number one, it said we can't get the schools updated for our survey. That is really easy for us to do. We know we had a short period of time when the company we were working with may not have been responsive, but I can promise you we're going to make that happen quickly now. Susan Fitzhugh, we'll make sure that Susan, we send an email out so that you have Susan's contact. Or if you go to exploring.org, go to the bottom of the website and open the Career Interest Survey Guidebook, you're going to see Susan's information in there as well. We can add any schools. We can add colleges. We can add private schools. You always want to test your school before you go and make sure it's spelled correctly, because if it's not spelled correctly, we can correct that for you as well. So Colin's showing you how to get there to the Career Interest Survey Guidebook. And if you notice, the Career Interest Survey Guidebook also has another answer to a chat that was asked just earlier. It said, hey, they're having trouble because it seems like we're asking for personal information. Well, if you're not aware about FERPA and other laws, definitely look those up. But what you're going to find inside the Career Interest Survey Guidebook is a letter from the U.S. Department of Education explaining that especially our online survey, they love, and it does not break FERPA laws or any privacy laws. What we ask for is what they call directory information. So thanks for that on the live chat. Colin, let me get a couple more here, and then we'll go back and come back and try to answer some more. It says we're competing with some other organizations that have their own surveys. Here's one thing that Colin will tell you, and I don't want to steal his thunder in his presentation, but remember, the survey is only a tool to get the information. So no matter how you get the information, it's okay if you use other people's surveys. We're just trying to find out what kids are interested in for a career. However, please remind them that our online survey costs them nothing. So if you're going to be able to provide a service for free, maybe talk to them about how your survey can be advantageous on budget costs and everything else. Let's see. One other question here. I used the online survey for my son, and his information never filtered back to me. If that ever happens, please let us know, because we'll go in and try to figure out exactly what happened there. Many times what we figure out is maybe they didn't choose the right school and the zip code wasn't assigned to the right school. And that came up too. Another chat question was, sometimes our information is going to another council. As you guys know, we have a lot of councils that merge. When the councils merge, it takes us a little bit of time to get the information transferred over. So again, if you'll contact Susan Fitzhugh and give her any of these problems or issues that you're having, I promise you that we'll get right on top of them and fix them. Colin?
All right, thank you. So I'm looking through the chat too, and I do see a lot of stuff about, well, they've already got their own data, they don't want to share it. So we'll go into a couple other things. It's not all, your success is not all about just those surveys. A service that we're using now, and you may have heard me talk about it if I've talked to you before, is STEM Premier, and it's changed its name to Tallo. And this is a service that has over 400,000 students already on it, which is quite a bit more than the data that we've had. I can do a search there by zip code, state, city. I can punch in career interests. I can even type in a high school name and find out a lot of information about kids who have joined the service in their particular location. So to show you a little bit how that works, once I do a search, this is the kind of information I get. I know you can't see incredible detail there, but you can see this is a search I did for San Diego. Almost 3,500 kids there. It tells me that the vast majority of them are in high school, so this is a good search. Most of them want to go to college, but most importantly, if you look at the bottom there, it says career interest. Most of these kids want to be mechanical engineers, aerospace engineers, civil engineers, but that gives us data right there. So if this is all the information that the San Diego Imperial Council had, they would know that we need to go out there and start a couple engineering posts because we've got the kids that are interested. On top of that, and you guys can't do this because they won't give access to everybody because of the data that's in there. But if I do a search for you and you see something like this and you want to start an engineering post, you can communicate directly with me and tell me when your open house is coming up. I have the ability to attach whatever flyer you have for that open house and send it directly to these kids. So it's another way that we can get information to them without having to worry about the school. So this is not something that's going to fix it 100% either. So there are some areas, this is all organic, people who have joined that survey or that system. So there are some areas that I'm going to punch in and there might be 10 students there. And 10 students is more than 0, but it doesn't give us a good idea of what we need to do. So both of those are tools, but of course you've also got local data that you can pull. If the school already does a survey and they're willing to share it, share whatever data, even if they only share with you what the top careers are and the number of kids, and they won't give you the kids' information, that's still powerful information. It tells you, okay, this high school of 800 kids, 250 of them are interested in healthcare. Doesn't matter what their name is, I know that I need to start a healthcare post. So that's valuable information. I would also ask the high school, they can't tell you all that information. You can say, well, what are your most popular clubs? What's the most popular activities that you have in your school? That again can give you some interest information. And then I'd also talk to the community colleges and ask them to tell you what are the most popular programs that freshmen are entering. None of that is perfect, but if you pair all that together, it can give you a really good picture of your area and what kind of posts and clubs you might want to start.
And Colin, while I know you're trying to fix your audio there, and while you're doing that, I wanted to mention 2 other national partnerships that we're looking at as well. One of the national partnerships, and many of you may have heard of this organization, is Career Cruising. So we're working on a national partnership with them to go along with TALO, and we're also working on an organization called My Options. And they basically tout themselves as kind of a joining institution for students in colleges. What they do is they go in and they're in about 90% of the schools across the nation. Now, they're not in 90% of the students in the schools, but they're in about 90% of the schools across the nation. And they survey kids and allow them to be matched with colleges based on their interests. We're creating a national partnership right now. We're working with our legal team to finish up an MOU. And what we're hoping to do for you guys and ladies is provide you, those of you that are doing career interest surveys and doing a great job, keep doing it. Those of you that are getting information from the school without doing career interest surveys, even better in some cases. But we're also trying to provide some national partnerships where we can provide you, as Colin said, with a list of students that already have indicated their interest. So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll have something coming out on My Options and Career Cruising pretty soon. Let us know if, I know Colin's audio was a little bad there, so if you guys do see that, we're getting a lot of chat on the line, and we appreciate the feedback, and we'll continue to go back and answer those questions. But if there is something wrong with the audio or video, if you'll chat in, let us know. We really do appreciate that. So one of the things in the chat line here is again, we're seeing a lot that they don't want to do the surveys because they already have the data. I do want to remind you about one thing. There's a big difference in what we call a career interest survey and an aptitude test. And if you don't know the difference between those, be sure that you do, because an aptitude test basically, for better lack of terms, is like an interrogation, right? I mean, my daughter Hannah took one, and they ask you all of these questions. And at the end, it tells Hannah, well, you need to be a doctor, you need to be a teacher, and you need to be a lawyer, right? It gives her top 3. Well, there's a big difference in that in a career interest survey, because in a career interest survey, you actually say what you want to do. So Hannah would just fill out a career interest survey and say, I want to do these 2 or 3 things. And that makes a difference when you're inviting people to open houses, because when Hannah puts down what she wants to do and she gets a letter from an attorney, she's more likely to show up than a survey telling them what she should do. So keep that in mind. And remember, again, our online survey is free. So make sure that you let them know that we can provide that at a no-cost option. Alan?
All right. Thank you, Tim. Muted you, so unmute if you need to talk. All right. So our next topic, we're going to talk about open house. So I know that skips straight from phase 1 to 4. We're going to try and keep these normally on the phase that we're focusing on. The reason we added in the open house is because this is our first Exploring Live hour, and the open house is very important. It's not just a one-time-a-year thing. It's something you can do anytime, but spring is a great time to do that because it also opens up the 8th graders to come and do an open house instead of having to wait for them to get into 9th grade. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility when you're trying to grow your membership. And before I go into deep detail on this, I want to remind everybody that an open house is not just for starting a new post or club. It's for your existing posts and clubs as well. And some of them have gotten out of the habit of doing this kind of thing. But we want the programs to continue to grow as much as possible. So if you'd like to learn a lot of detail about how an open house works, of course, the best option is to sign up for a local exploring certification. We do those all over the country. We try to do one in every area in the first half of the year. And we do a lot of interactive stuff during that certification. We actually go through an open house. The next best thing would be getting on a call like this, or you can go to exploring.org and look at the Exploring Guidebook for Leaders. It's at the bottom of the website in the resource section. This agenda's in there and a little bit more information as well. And just to go through the agenda here, when you have an open house, you don't want, ideally, the exploring executive doing the welcome. This welcome needs to come from whoever is in charge of the organization that's hosting the post or club. So if you've got an engineering post, whoever runs that engineering firm, even if they're not going to be the full-time advisor, we want that important person inviting these students to be a part of what they've done for a career. And more importantly, we want that person to share, this is why I got into engineering. This is what excites me about engineering. It's why I wanted to become one when I was in high school. The next one is we talk about what exploring is. And when we talk about that, we don't go into a lot of detail. We don't talk about the 5 areas of emphasis because we're talking to students. Just like we don't go to a Cub Scout recruitment and talk about character. We go there and we talk about fishing and BB guns. Same kind of thing here. The focus is on how interactive it is and how hands-on it is. And we'll show a short video. I would recommend either the Exploring Anthem. If you're starting a club, there's a separate anthem for clubs. But even better, if you want to show one of the individual career videos, we have a video or a couple videos sometimes for each career field. And you can find those on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/learningforlifeusa. You can also find them on the Brand Center, which is at the bottom of exploring.org. And there you can actually download the videos so that you don't have to rely on internet connectivity. So show them that short video, but the most important part of this entire thing is getting to number 4, getting to the hands-on activities. Before you've come to the open house, your adult leaders should have gone through an all-in-one program planning meeting. And that's another thing I want to emphasize is not just for a brand new post or a club. That's something they should be doing every year. And during that time, those people, those adults will go through and pick a few activities, maybe 3 or 4, that are interactive, hands-on, things that get these students excited. Maybe it's building a bridge, maybe it's building a robot. They do have to be short because these are just going to be a series of stations that they're going to rotate through during this open house. And there's not going to be enough time for everybody to have as much fun as they really want to, but you got to move them. So you move them by saying, if you want to do more, if you want to have more fun with this, you have to participate in our post or have to participate in our club because this is just a taste of what they're going to get. Part of that program planning meeting that's happened, a few weeks prior is building a calendar, at least for a couple of months, several meetings. So those adults have already built something of a calendar for this post or club to start. But to continue building that program, we want to know what these students want to do. So you hand out the activity interest survey. That tells us what these students are interested in. Even if there's an activity that isn't specifically related to this career, it could be an activity that you do one week just for fun. Because we want to make sure we're always doing what the kids are wanting us to do. Another very important point is ask them to join. A lot of times we forget to do that, or we say, well, you could just come to the first meeting and see how it goes. We don't want to do that. They came there to sign up. They came there ready to register for exploring. So we've got to ask them to do that, show them how to fill out the application, explain the fees, and then give them a few minutes to give them a silent period where they can go around, they can fill their applications, you can answer questions, but make sure you include that part. Don't just go from fun to calendar to have some snacks and go home. Make sure you get them to fill out that paperwork and get it in that night. And of course, if someone really cannot sign up that night, you want to tell them they can come to the next meeting, but the expectation is that everybody joins that night.
So,
So Colin, one thing that I've seen in attending open houses and everything is the energy in the room. Man, you can do a lot with high school students. I always think about my daughter being in the room and what she likes versus what we as adults like. We as adults sometimes like a lot of information and like to be told everything. They're just really coming there to have fun if you really think about it. So if that open house is a fun, hands-on activity, not too many people standing up and telling how long they've been in a career, but literally just getting to the point and saying, here's what we're going to be doing in this post. And you want them to have just enough of those hands-on activities to make sure that it entices them to come back. And most importantly, this is the number one mistake I made when I started 21 years ago when I was trying to learn how to do exploring. We would try to plan the program along the way. And I hate to admit that, but I did it. So we got to make sure the program's completely planned before those kids show up at the open house. Now, you want them to have input later, but it's okay to have that program planned at least for the first 10 or 12 meetings to make sure that these kids are going to stay interested. So I would say just one thing missing on that open house agenda is energy, high energy, and lots of fun for those kids.
I agree, and I've seen plenty of open houses or any other activities that we do with our youth, whether they're explorers or scouts, where we get up and we just talk a lot, or we take the time to thank each other, volunteers, professionals. This is about these students, and you can lose their interest incredibly fast. These are older students, so they've probably got their smartphone with them, and we want them to not even think about picking that smartphone up and messing with it. I would also say, because parents are going to have questions that you might not cover in an open house, things like, the 5 areas of emphasis. What else is my son going to get out of this program other than just fun? So it wouldn't be a bad idea to have something to hand to them. Maybe it's the Exploring Sales Kit. Maybe it's the Career Field brochures. Of course, both of those are available to you for free through the National Supply. That would be good to have those things to hand to the parents to say, we're not going to talk about this a lot tonight, but here is some information that you might be interested in. Maybe you could even discuss, depending on the career field, potential scholarships that are available, especially if you're talking about law enforcement. You could talk about the conference that happens every 2 years. Of course, that one I'd probably share with the kids as well. So that's about the quickest rundown I could probably give of an open house. Again, it's a lot more detailed if you do one of the in-person trainings with us as we travel through the country. So if you've got one coming up in your area, I highly encourage you to participate in that. And if you don't have one coming up in your area, then talk to your council and your scout executive, and talk to your area director, and we might be able to schedule one there. And that's it. So I appreciate you guys, and we will pass it back over to Tim.
Yeah, so Colin, thanks so much for that. And what we're hoping to do in the future, and thank you guys, you are giving a lot of good feedback on the chat line. We've got 2 or 3 people in the room now. We're trying to keep up with the questions. So what we're going to make sure we do is that even if we're not answering it during the presentation, once our Exploring Live Hour is over, we're going to stay on the line because we're here to service you guys. We want to make sure we answer every single question that you have. So we'll make sure that we do that. I want to pick out a few of the questions as we're going through because I think some of these are pertinent to everyone. The first one that comes up is somebody mentioned in here that the letter's outdated, right? So it's dated 2013. No excuses there. Let me just tell you the honest truth of why that letter is dated that. The administration of the U.S. Department of Education, the changeover happens, and it takes literally a year and a half for us to get all the signatures and go to the attorneys on that. And when the administration changes over, sometimes it's not as advantageous for us to go to a particular person to get that letter re-signed. However, based off of your feedback that you just gave us, we will go to the new administration and try to get that letter signed. So Colin, Carlos, Fred, if you guys will make a note of that, next time we're in DC, we'll try to set a meeting and get back there and get that letter updated. Thanks. That's the type of stuff, team, that we need feedback from you guys because sometimes we don't hear that too much. Another one that came up quite often in the chat was, hey, I can't do surveys. They won't give me they won't give me the survey information. So here's a trick to try. I learned this from an awesome exploring executive that I thought was genius. They tried everything they could to get the surveys done. Nobody would let them do the surveys. And finally, they just went to the counselor and said, hey, can you give me the numbers? And when you say the numbers, what does that mean? Well, you already know what the kids want to do, right? And the counselor said, well, of course. He said, well, I just want to know how many kids want to be in healthcare, how many want to be in aviation, how many want to be in law enforcement. I don't need the names, just the numbers. So this executive made a deal with the counselor that they would go out and start posts. For example, 500 kids wanted to be in healthcare. They went and recruited a hospital to have the post, And then they took a letter from the CEO of the hospital back to the counselor, and the counselor delivered those letters to those 500 kids that wanted to be a part of that particular post. So there's other ways to get around it, even if you can't do the surveys. And most counselors would love to do that, because what you're doing is getting a hands-on career experience for the kids. So remember, even if you can't get the names, get the numbers. And then, and what this particular executive did is they folded the letters, put them in envelopes, and all the counselor had to do was put labels on them and then hand them directly to the kids. And you're going to notice on your screen something a little important. This year is the 70th anniversary of Exploring. So we're going to have all our incentives and everything that we're giving out this year branded with the 70th anniversary. Law Enforcement Exploring will be 60 years old, I believe, next year, but our overall Exploring program is 70 years old this year. So as you're making things and making trinkets and things in your councils, we're going to have this on our brand center. So you can use this logo at any BSA licensed vendor along with the regular Exploring logo. All right, let's go ahead and go over to Fred Lee. Every month, we're going to do a highlight of the website. It always amazes us that there's a lot of stuff on the website that people don't know is there. We're always updating it. And if you guys give us ideas about what's to go on there, we'll do that. So I'm going to turn it over to our Southern Region Exploring Director, Fred Lee, and let him do a highlight for the month.
All right. Thank you all for being on the call. So the website highlight.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Thanks again for being on the call. So today, as for the website, we'll be focusing on two areas. The first is the unit performance guide, and then we'll come back and talk about the new unit playbook. So if you guys want to follow along with me, if you would go to exploring.org, and what you'll do once you get to exploring.org, you'll scroll to the bottom of the page, and you'll go under Council Resources in that middle box. You'll look for Unit Performance Guide. Now, once you get here, this might look familiar. This is the Unit Performance Guide that we use in Scouting. So if you will go to the download, the one-page summary, the Unit Performance Guide is 188 pages. So the summary does a good job of kind of just lumping together exactly what we're going to be talking about. So, for example, number one, volunteer-driven, professionally guided. The Unit Performance Guide is essentially a strategy for starting and sustaining high-quality units. So just like in traditional scouting, we do the same in Exploring. So I'll show how these correlate. Also, we have number two is a new unit commissioner is assigned to every unit. Now, in Exploring, we don't exactly have new unit commissioners. However, we do have service team members, and those serve in the same right as a commissioner in traditional scouting. Also, you have, organizing units with at least 10 youth. So you want to make sure that, when we're starting a post that we have 10 youth or a club, have 10 youth. All right. We know that, things happen during the course of a year. So having 10 youth is important. Also, and I'll just stop here, is number 4, recruiting at least 5 adult new unit leaders. So in Exploring, once we go to a company, it's very good to have a lot of volunteers from that company. We want to make sure that, our program is viable and we have a lot of different perspectives from the company. So in a nutshell, that's the Unit Performance Guide, and that's just the summary sheet. So we'll go back and we'll go to the entire guide, and I'll go to a specific section. So if you go to the download the English PDF, as I said before, it's 188 pages, so it's not quite a pocket dictionary, but we'll jump to a specific page. So if you would, we'll jump to page 127. So today we'll be talking about essentially new units. So, and I will let you guys know, a lot of people, won't have access to this 188-page book in person. So, like, again, this is a big thing that we have on our website that's available to you all. So on page 127, we have the starting of Exploring Post or a club. So essentially, this is the guideline of our 4 phases of how to start a post or a club. So as we know, in Pillar 1 is knowing your market and research. This involves the career interest surveys and also finding the businesses once you have the information from the surveys. And it also talks about cultivation events, which is very good for getting a lot of leaders around from different companies around in one room to essentially sell them on our program and sell them on starting Exploring clubs or posts. So in Pillar 2, we have making the call and we have leadership. All right, so once we get in the doors and once we try to establish a new post or a club, it's very important that we contact the key decision maker. All right, and that's the person at the top that essentially gives us the yay or nay whether we can go and start a post or club. And from there, you want to find a volunteer who's very good, going to be very good with the kids, or going to be doing the day-to-day tasks of the posts or the clubs. All right. So on number 3, we have building the unit. So this is the program facet, and I know Colin covered it just briefly, but the first thing before we start, we'll have a program planning meeting, and just as Tim said earlier, it's very important that we have a good program planned for the course of what we're doing with the kids. And for this also, we want to make sure that we talk about service team members and servicing how we're going to help these new posts last an entire year. All right, so as we go down, we'll go to pillar 4. And it's just talking about growing the unit and participation. So obviously, once we have the open house ready to go, we definitely want to make sure it's promoted. So that being personal letters, digital marquees, social media, things such as that. And we also want to make sure that we know that this is a youth-led program. So we want our kids that's involved to actually have leadership opportunities. So we have youth officer elections and such, and that's all in promoting the open house before the open house. And then after that, we have let's just talk about the year-round recruitment. So just to let you all know, Exploring Posts, we need to be recruiting year-round. So that's just something that we do, and these are the 4 phases to starting a post. So just to let you guys know that this is available online, so you don't need any physical paper. You can literally just do what I just did and kind of see the ins and outs of how to start a post. So just really quickly here, once you're about to go approach a business or a organization about starting a post or a club, you're going to want to know the basics. What is Exploring? So once you sit in the office, they're going to want to know what's Exploring. You want to talk about our mission, our vision, and a lot of them will want to know what's the difference between a post and a club. And as we know, a club is for the 6th grade through 8th grade, and a post is for kids age 14 through 20. You also want to bring up, if you're talking to any business leader, you want to talk about community support. What we do, they'll be providing meeting facilities and adult leaders, but they'll also be visual in the community. And a lot of them are very interested in being visual in the community. And the last thing I'll talk about here is just the company benefits. So each company is going to want to know what's in it for them. So one thing is cultivating future employees, impacting the education of our youth, improving their staff teamwork, and things such as that. So these are all aspects that you want to bring up when you're talking to a business leader to try to start a post or a club. And you also want to bring up the employee benefits and also the youth benefits of starting a post or club. And if it goes down just a little bit more, we have our 5 areas of emphasis. So we have career opportunities, leadership experiences, life skills, citizenship, and character education. Please get yourself very familiar with these 5 areas of emphasis. These are very important, as each prospective post that we go to are going to be looking towards these things as what makes our program viable. So if we want to go back to the Exploring homepage, we have the new unit playbook available on our Exploring page. So again, you'll go to exploring.org and you'll scroll to the bottom. And in the middle box, you have council resources, and you want to hit new unit playbook. All right. So this is very, very easy for anybody to use. Like I say, it's 2 clicks away. So anyone who wants to start a new post, it can be a volunteer, it can be a professional, whomever, they can go directly to this. All right. So as we scroll down just a bit, it shows how to start a program, and it shows the concept. So as you see, the phases I just talked through, we do have them below. And, I'll go through them each with you. So on phase 1, we have research. So if we click the arrow, it has different things that we can say. All right. So it just describes, how research is the key to what we're doing, and how the career interest data starts us off with finding companies that we want to start a new post with. And then, like I say, the career interest survey talks about, what we need or what the kids are interested in. And it also talks about a goal. All right. So how many surveys do we need? That's a question a lot of people ask. So generally we say the membership goal times 20 is the number of surveys that you'll need. All right. So generally we get the 10% rule. So we get 10% of those kids who actually take the survey will actually join. All right. We just talked about finding the businesses. Now, there's a couple ways that this can go. You can start with the career interest survey to find the business. However, in our councils, we have a lot of opportunities for businesses that can host posts. So also remember that your council boards or people that you have on as volunteers now, know companies that's in the area that might be interested in hosting a post. All right. And we also talked about a cultivation event. This is an event where we get multiple different companies or multiple different business leaders in the room to talk to them about exploring on one day. So now we'll talk about phase 2 leadership. All right. So in the leadership portion, like we said before, once you enter a potential post, you want to make sure, or potential organization for a post, you want to make sure that we're getting to the top key leaders. All right, so that, like I said, that's the decision maker, and they might have a gatekeeper for you to get to that person a lot of the time. But once you get to that person, this is the person that'll say, yes, we can do this, or no, we cannot. And then this just gives some information about the key decision maker. And beyond that, the unit committee. So, wherever we start a post, just say it's a plumbing company. You want to make sure there's a unit committee of people that's at that company that can help us make decisions for the post and what the kids will be learning and doing in the course of the program. Leadership training, as you all know, we have youth protection training that everyone needs to take, and we also have exploring specific modules that they can take. So we do have training for new leaders once they join and become a post. And like I said, we also have our district and council exploring committees. Now, we want to grow these on our council and our district level, so we have support in that, but that's just what that's for. We also have the leadership there. So in phase 3, just briefly, we'll talk about the program. So I said before, we talked about the unit committee. We want to make sure that each unit has a committee, like I said, that's dedicated to focusing on what's going to help these kids once they're in the post. So the program planning meeting, we already talked about that, but it's, like I said, to get the year together to know exactly what activities you guys want to do. And we want to make sure that we emphasize that we're not just standing up and just preaching or talking to kids. We want to have hands-on activities. These kids are very interested in doing things that are physical, that they can put their hands on and learn doing that. All right, so we'll go on to phase 4, to participation, the final phase. So essentially, after you do all that, you're ready to have an open house. And, we talked about it briefly, but you want to promote your open house. And this can be done multiple ways. And I would just urge you all to be creative. All right. So now, a lot of kids say if it's not on social media, it didn't happen. So please make sure that you're promoting on social media, especially at this age range. They all have cell phones. They all have phones to use. They're very interested in social media and getting interactive with that way. As we said, hands-on activities, and we also said we want to select youth leadership from that post, and we'll end up, and we're just talking about the year-round recruitment. Posts can essentially choose when they want to meet, so we want to make sure we're recruiting year-round to keep that post full of kids. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the chat box. And I just do also want to promote our. I also want to promote our exploring social media pages, and we'll also put that in the chat as well. Please make sure that you guys add us on social media, go comment, go like, and also please make sure that you update your personal exploring websites on your council. All right. So that's just a small snippet of what we have to offer from the exploring website. So like I said, any questions, feel free to go to the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Fred. So just a couple of things. Number one, that last thing, the new unit playbook that Fred showed you, that's a great thing to show a business leader when you start. I've been on several sales calls recently with exploring executives and some district executives that have exploring experience. And the one common thing I found, and a mistake that we all make, is sometimes we know the exploring program so well that we fail to paint the big picture for our business. In other words, when you're sitting down with the CEO or the leader that's going to help start the post, go through those 4 phases. Don't use the new unit playbook. That's for you. That's all the details behind the scenes that tells you everything you need to know. That's the new unit playbook that's on exploring.org that you want to use for the leader. because that kind of gives you an overview. It lets you tell them the first 4 phases. So we've been getting a lot of chat back here. We want to make sure we answer some of the questions as we go before we go to our next presenter. One of the things, we got a shout out from CAC out there. They said, hey, Tim, can we get some of that swag from the National Service Center? I wished, you guys know me, I'm always giving things away, and we try to do the best we can and giving y'all swag when we come to see you. Unfortunately, I don't have a budget to give every council what I would like to. However, I saw some answers back in the chat that many of you have found licensed vendors. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This shirt, many of the shirts that I have, red, black, green, blue, whatever I wear, I go down to Kohl's. I buy the shirt, and then I go to a BSA licensed vendor and have the Exploring logo put on it. And you can do the same thing with flashlights, hats, or anything else. And that includes the 70th anniversary logo you see on the screen now. You can do that at any BSA licensed vendor. If you get to a BSA licensed vendor and they say they don't have Exploring, they can contact the National Supply Office, and they will send them the files they need to be able to do that for you. So thanks for a couple of vendors that were thrown out there by you guys on the chat line as well. So we're going to answer some more chat, but before we do, we got a special guest. I'm hoping Dick Davies may have made it on the line with us along with Carlos Coronado. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that over to them to talk about an awesome opportunity that we've got coming up. And make sure Carlos, and I know you guys are on the outside, so Carlos and Dick, make sure you unmute your phone.
Well, let me try a sound check, Tim. Can you hear me? Tim? Tim?
Oh, the fun of audiovisual.
Tim, you can't hear me, I guess.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, can you?
The DE.
Somebody can hear me. Who am I talking to?
This is Michael Patterson in Longhorn. What's going on?
Hey, Dick, this is
I don't
Colin.
know.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I'm not sure what's going on.
Let's all pretend. Tim
All right. Well, look. If you can hear me, let me just go ahead. This is Dick Davies live from New York City. Thank you for inviting me on the call here today. I'm kind of operating remotely, right? So we're dealing with cell phones and iPads. But I just wanted to update everybody. And last time I checked, I think we had at the high point about 70 people on the call. But we are having our first national Exploring Leadership Conference this summer. The first conference, at least, other than law enforcement, which has been very successful, probably our first national leadership conference in about 2 decades. And it's going to be held July 9th through the 12th, Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, which is about 80 miles southeast of Columbus if you're flying in. So we'll start Tuesday night with opening. We'll have everybody done by noon on Friday the 12th and on their way. And in terms of who should attend, we're really gearing this for council level leadership and up, but any explorer advisor who's interested would be welcome to attend. But we're really hoping that every council would have whoever the designated professional is, ideally a volunteer chairman would be there, and especially for those councils that have an active Explorer Officer Association or even are thinking about it, it would be great to have a couple of Explorer leaders as part of this as well. So for basically the 3-day conference, we're really going to be having sort of the top thinkers in exploring, sharing what they're doing of what's working in their council, a lot of idea exchange. Hopefully we'll have a lot of councils there who have not really embraced exploring yet, some of the smaller councils. So it's going to be very much kind of a workshop-oriented seminar of people contributing, people learning. We're hoping for about 350 attendees, but we would love to have every council represented to be there. One thing I would call your attention to, and I'm sure Carlos will as well, but Patrick Sterrett, for the professionals on the line, you would know him as our Assistant Chief Scout Executive responsible for all field operations. Patrick has just released a really great promotional video that really makes the case for being at the conference. I think he's going to be joining us as well, even inviting your Scout Executive to be part of it. So if you don't have an exploring chairman, this is the time to recruit one. If you don't have a professional designated responsible for exploring, I'm guessing most of the people on this call are in that boat already. or a young person. It'd be great for every council to be represented by sort of the Exploring Key 3. And I would also say we're in the final stages of putting the program together. If there is something out there that you think you're particularly good at and would like to share, we'd love to incorporate you into the program. So please let Carlos Coronado know. He's the staff advisor for the event. And I think in particular, a lot of councils now are starting Explorer Officers Associations again. So if you have a really good functioning youth organization, in particular, we would love to hear from you and get you involved in the program. Because I know that's a lot, getting that youth leadership back at the council level is something we're all very interested in doing. So at the high point, I think we had 70 people on the call. I hope all 70 of you and the other people listening in will be part of this. Conference fee is $375. And I think Carlos and Tim and the gang have already sent out all the registration links. But if you need them again, Carlos, and we're looking at the screen right now, Carlos is the contact in the national office. He can certainly address any questions you might have. So Tim, even though I can't hear you, I'll stop and toss it back to you at this point.
Okay, awesome, Dick. Are you able to hear me now? All right, very good. So thanks so much. We're looking so forward to this conference. It's going to be an awesome conference. As Dick said, first time in 20 years we've done this. Please encourage your Scout executives and volunteers. Make sure that you sign up to come. We're wanting to make this awesome, and we're going to continue to build this as time goes on. But we want to make sure we have good attendance there to build some good energy. We're going to share face-to-face some great ideas and improve our program across the country. So Dick, thanks so much again for you agreeing to be the chair, along with your responsibilities as Northeast Region Exploring Chair. Now we're going to kind of wrap up with exploring growth incentives. I know one thing that you'll find from our department is we love to give out awards and incentives, and so we hope you enjoy it. If you enjoyed the blue shirt that we've got on today, we're hoping that you'll love the new red shirt that we're going to create for the 70th anniversary. It'll have the 70th anniversary logo. And so one way that you can find out about the exploring incentives, I'm going to ask Colin to kind of take us there on the website. Go to exploringexplosion.org. We're kind of using that landing page to update you guys on things that are going on incentives. Again, that's exploringexplosion.org. Colin's going there now. So go ahead and scroll down to the bottom, Colin, and let's go down to the bottom boxes. And right there under resources, go ahead and click on 2019 Exploring Growth Incentives. This will be our incentives for 2019. Basically, we have two levels. Level one, you can, if you have year-end growth and exploring youth membership, you're going to receive a red 70th anniversary exploring polo. So you won't want to miss out on this. And this is for anyone who has exploring growth. That includes any executive who supports exploring units. It does not have to be an exploring executive. So that's district directors, field directors, DFS, and even Scout executives qualify when their team qualifies. And again, in order to do level one, just have growth in year-over-year membership. Now, level two, a little bit higher, if you have 7% membership growth in exploring youth membership, and also a growth in units, we're going to do a really cool 70th anniversary coin. I know I still have the last anniversary coin on my desk, and a lot of people enjoy those. They're very limited edition. We won't do more than what we need to give out on the recognition. So we hope that you'll take a chance to earn that. Now, this is the one I'm really excited about. We're going to continue to give away this cash, cold hard cash, for aviation units started. We've had 20 started so far. It doesn't sound like a lot, but many of you might be surprised that we only had 85 aviation units nationwide. Mark Wiesenheim may be on the line with us. Mark in Sporty's Aviation has always been a big supporter of our aviation career fields and Alaskan Airlines as well. And we're happy to be able to do this incentive. I know it still says 2017 on there, but we're going to still give away that cash until I run out of it. So make sure that if you're starting an aviation post, or even if you haven't started one, there's a good chance that you can still earn that cash. And we're going to be doing a drawing for airline tickets for those that did turn it in, and you should be seeing that soon. And finally, we're going to be announcing a new law enforcement initiative this year. Many of you might be aware of the new program that started out there that's competing with us. We're going to do a lot of things to help make sure that we support you, give you the necessary tools to build law enforcement a great program. Well, team, thank you guys so much for kind of bearing through on this first Exploring Live Hour as we continue to get better. I want to let Craig Martin kind of close out. And if Craig, we're going to try one more time, Craig, and see if we can get the volume up on you. If not, we'll give you a signal and kind of take it back there. So, Craig, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you to help close us out. Well, Craig, we tried it again. We're not sure. We're going to have to get you one of these cool looking headphones that we have on here. I'll ship you one of those to Colorado, and next time we'll make sure that we can hear you. We're not sure what's going on with the audio there, but I know Craig really well, and so I could probably tell you what he's saying. Craig is an area chair. He's a huge exploring supporter, and I can tell you this is the type of passion and volunteers that we have on our national level with Craig and Dick Davies, and of course Mark Wiesenhahn, our board. We're so excited to have Dick on board, and Craig. Craig's going to be reaching out to you guys to get ideas on unit service. He's working with our commissioner staff and making sure that we're included on trainings so that we can train our current commissioners to serve exploring units as well. He's going to be representing our team out at Philmont at the Commissioners Week. So feel free to email Craig. His information is on our website at exploring.org under Contact Us. And we'll make sure that you get to know Craig as Exploring Live Hours go along. Well, as we close out today, I just want to make sure that everybody knows about our next Exploring Live Hour. And, Craig, almost forgot about the Volunteer of the Month. That's what you were going to talk about. He just gave me a thumbs up. We're going to start doing a National Volunteer of the Month. And we're going to take nominations through our website. If you notice, there's a bit link. We'll have that bit link also on exploringexplosion.org. So if you go to the bottom of the website on Exploring Explosion, we'll have that up there today. Actually, Colin may be ahead of me. He already has it on there. So just click on exploringexplosion.org. You're going to notice that nomination form. We're asking for the nominee's name, all the common information, what they did to deserve this award, and a little bit of information about it. The more you can provide, the better, because we're hoping to get these in from across the country, and we're going to provide one each month. The cool thing is we're going to make them up a really nice branded certificate, some exploring swag, and recognize them on our national website. So if you got a great volunteer in exploring that you want to recognize, go to exploringexplosion.org, click on Volunteer of the Month, and submit that to us. We'll consider all nominations every month. So if you submit them one time, they'll continue to be in the hopper unless they receive the award. So Craig and our board's going to be helping us review those applications, and we really want you to submit those and help us out making sure we recognize our volunteers. Well, with that, our next Exploring Live Hour is March 13th at 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Please invite guests to join us. In the meantime, if you need anything from us, our Exploring team is on the screen for you right now with their cell phone numbers or their office numbers, as well as our Exploring email. Thank you for everything that you do for Exploring. We're going to stay on the line even though we're ending the live hour, and we're going to answer chats and make sure that we answer any questions. All the Exploring directors are in the room with me, so this is a great time for you to ask. Any constructive criticism will be greatly appreciated as we move forward. So we're going to end the live hour now, and then we're going to go back to chat. Thank you.